Let's break down the key statements from the transcript and provide a detailed analysis and fact check for each one. I'll follow the order of the claims in the transcript and then proceed to evaluate them against the facts. 1. Claim: the war or the Special Military Operation SVO is going according to plan. Reality check: this statement, frequently made by Russian state media, is misleading. Independent reports from the ground, both from Western sources and Ukrainian officials, indicate that Russia has faced significant setbacks and failures, especially in the early stages of the conflict. Key strategic objectives, such as the rapid capture of Kyiv, were not achieved, and the war has dragged on far longer than initially anticipated. Russia has encountered heavy losses, logistical challenges, and strong resistance from Ukraine, which contradicts the narrative that the plan is being successfully executed. 2. Claim: the West understands that the only way for Ukraine to win is to draw NATO into the war. Reality check: this is a distortion of Western support for Ukraine. While NATO countries have provided military aid, intelligence, and economic support, NATO as an organization is not directly involved in the conflict. The West's involvement is limited to supporting Ukraine's sovereignty without direct military intervention. NATO's objective has been to avoid escalating the conflict into a broader war, and there are no indications that NATO aims to engage directly against Russia. The claim suggests that Ukraine's success hinges on NATO's involvement, which ignores Ukraine's military progress, independent of NATO forces on the ground. 3. Claim: Russia historically does not view irreparable damage as the West does, but rather focuses on the threat to real security. Reality check: this claim appears to suggest that Russia's military actions are purely defensive and aimed at preventing existential threats. However, this narrative downplays Russia's aggressive actions, particularly the unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. The concept of security is being used to justify offensive operations in neighboring sovereign countries under the guise of preventing hypothetical threats, a pattern that has been observed in Russia's previous actions in Georgia, Crimea, and now Ukraine. 4. Claim: Ukraine has limited missiles, and even if they hit something, it would only affect Russia's pride, not its security. Reality check: this is a clear misrepresentation. Ukraine has used its missile capabilities strategically, targeting military installations, supply depots, and logistical hubs inside Ukraine, and in some cases striking deep inside Russian territory, such as in Crimea. These attacks have had real military consequences for Russia, damaging infrastructure and affecting the logistics of Russian forces. Downplaying these strikes as merely affecting Russia's pride is an attempt to diminish the impact Ukraine has had on Russian military operations. 5. Claim: if Ukraine or NATO strikes a chemical plant or a nuclear power station, it could cause an ecological disaster. Reality check: this is a valid concern, but it is a highly speculative argument being used to frame Ukraine and NATO as reckless. Russia itself has been accused of threatening critical infrastructure, including the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which has raised global concerns about potential ecological disasters. Both sides have a responsibility to avoid such disasters, but the way this claim is presented in the transcript is a rhetorical device to portray Ukraine and the West as the primary instigators of such risks. 6. Claim: a war with NATO would involve nuclear weapons if NATO attacked Russia. Reality check: this is a highly dangerous assertion that plays into the narrative of nuclear brinkmanship. While Russia's military doctrine includes the potential use of nuclear weapons if its existence is threatened, there is no evidence to suggest that NATO intends to attack Russia. This type of rhetoric is a form of nuclear blackmail intended to create fear and deter NATO from providing further support to Ukraine. In reality, NATO has repeatedly emphasized its defensive posture and has no interest in engaging in a nuclear conflict. 7. Claim: the strikes against Russia, including drones reaching Moscow, are essentially testing the limits of escalation. Reality check: Ukrainian drones and long-range strikes have indeed targeted Russian infrastructure, including strikes near Moscow. However, these actions are largely in retaliation for Russia's continued missile attacks on Ukrainian cities. Framing these Ukrainian responses as testing escalation limits is misleading. Ukraine's actions are defensive in nature, aimed at disrupting Russia's military operations. The narrative of escalation testing seems designed to justify Russia's potential escalatory responses, including nuclear threats. R8. Claim. The West's actions are reckless and could lead to a full-scale nuclear war. Reality check. This is another exaggerated claim designed to create fear. Western countries, including the US, have taken great care to avoid direct confrontation with Russia. Despite providing military aid to Ukraine, the West has consistently sought diplomatic avenues to de-escalate tensions. The portrayal of the West as reckless ignores the clear efforts by NATO and Western powers to prevent the conflict from spiraling out of control. The repeated mention of nuclear war serves as a scare tactic to deter further Western involvement in Ukraine's defense. 9. Claim. If the Supreme Leader Putin has spoken, we must follow his direction without question. Reality check. This reflects the authoritarian nature of the Russian regime, where dissent is not tolerated, and decisions made by Putin are presented as unquestionable. In reality, this kind of top-down, unquestioning obedience can lead to poor decision-making as it suppresses critical thinking and accountability. The reliance on a single leader to dictate military and foreign policy without checks and balances is a significant flaw in the Russian system, as seen in the miscalculations regarding Ukraine. Conclusion. This transcript reflects typical themes of Russian disinformation, promoting fear of NATO intervention, downplaying Ukraine's successes, justifying Russia's actions as defensive, and threatening nuclear escalation to manipulate international responses. The repeated invocation of nuclear threats, along with the portrayal of the West as reckless and provocative, is a central part of Russia's media narrative. This type of rhetoric aims to shift blame and justify Russia's aggressive actions, while obscuring the reality of the situation on the ground.